Up next on Biz News, much more coming up.
The proof is in his pen. A political cartoonist takes on Bush, Blair and Hussein. An equal opportunities cartoonist. When we return.
Cartoon caricature is a staple of media political commentary. The bigger the politician, the more their physical traits seem to be exaggerated. Joining us in the studio now is artist Fotis, who specializes in psychological portraits using the external features to portray the inner person. He's drawn everyone from George W. Bush and Tony Blair to Saddam Hussein. Evan, thanks for being with us in the studio. So we're going to be showing pictures of some of your drawings, but what you're saying essentially is that this physiognomy sort of analysis allows you to determine from physical attributes what the inner personality of the individual is. How do you go about that?
Yes, well, physiognomy or face reading is a method which interprets the facial structures and the individual features to come out with a result about the traits and predispositions of a human character. So we use this and we come up about certain points which could delineate the character of the person.
Let's start with George W. Bush, analyzing his face, drawing it, and then indeed sort of building a grid on a computer. What do you come up with? What is the inner George W. Bush? We don't know.
All right. First of all, I would like to say that within a few minutes, it's very difficult to have a look at all. We'll just highlight the basics. Well, something that's characteristic of George Bush is that he has all his receptors, his eyes, his nose, his mouth, are hidden, are retracted within the face. That shows that emotionally he's somewhat vulnerable. His emotions are repressed and are gathered inside internally. And this leads to some inner conflicts. This may lead into a positive output of behavior or negative. We must...
inner conflicts, what do you mean by that?
Inner conflicts. All of us are a mixture of contradicting elements, most of the people.
You could say that about most people.
Most
so what
people,
specifically about George W. Bush?
Well, George W. Bush, if you like, we could say about specific features. Let's say now about the forehead.
Okay.
He has a wide forehead that shows that he has tendency to be practical, and also his eyes are deep set, which means that he's observant and calculative.
Okay, more pragmatic than, for instance, a dreamer.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move on because we have a limited amount of time. Let's move on to Tony Blair, for instance. You've analyzed his facial features. What do they say about him?
Okay, to use a current phrase with one word, adaptation, I would say. Tony Blair has the ability to take the influence of the environment and to adapt and to feel the mood of the environment and to be able to come out with something that matches.
So more chameleon qualities.
Yes,
for Tony
he has
Blair.
ability to communicate. He acts rather through instinct and intuition rather than with just purely methodical, organized and logical plan. He acts rather with intuition.
Okay, and that, actually, okay, so we have two different personalities. They're based on the facial features, one of George W. Bush, the other of Tony Blair, both agreeing on their foreign policy, yet both perhaps in different ways taking in their environment. What about Saddam Hussein? You've analyzed his facial features.
Sure.
Let's bring him up. Hopefully we have that picture. Let's bring him up and tell me what you can learn from the facial features of Saddam Hussein about his personality.
Okay, Saddam Hussein is a combination of strong features opposing and rather put together in a blunt way, not defined, not with no sensitivity, I would say. There's a severity of temper. The physical forces overpower the mental ones, and they are the ones that will define the direction of the behavior. There are mental abilities, but the strong physical instincts and the forces which are raw and are not, do not have any real quality, not refined.
So not refined, more of a physical. How much of what you determine is based on what you know already about the person? Because these are all things that we can observe.
I'll tell you this. Most of the times I collaborate with newspapers. They give me just pictures without knowing anything about the past of the personality.
Right.
So when I do the reading, I just look not at the social status, but just on the facial structure and the features. And that's how I base it on.
Okay. You're also a caricaturist and a cartoonist. We don't have time to get into that, but many thanks, Fotis, for being with us in the studio this morning.
Thank you very much.
And you're watching Biz News. There's more ahead.